Alright, my super fam, I finally finished our lovely Mualani. Oh my god, she's just adorable, guys. So I spent a lot of time just testing her out, building her, because while all the materials are new, and I have to manually speed run to farm it for her. So after a lot of testing with Mualani, as usual, we're going to be having a video discussing about some of the top teams that we're having right now. So these teams are some of the teams that I really enjoy playing Mualani in, so that you guys can also make a reference and build these teams for yourself as well. Natlin is finally here, and of course that comes with many new characters that you would want to pull, and I can guarantee you that Zelenin and Mavuika is going to be on the list. Now if you're planning to swipe for pulling, then don't forget to check out Loot Bar. If you know me, I've been recommending you guys Loot Bar before, since you can always save almost a 20% on all of your top-ups. With over 100,000 orders and so many good reviews at this point, you can be sure that Loot Bar is trustworthy. To demonstrate it to you, I've been topping up my Genshin account through Loot Bar, buying the highest Genshin package. The only information you would need to fill out is going to be your UID and server region. Then go through the checkout process. After completing, the top-ups will come to your account within 5 minutes. Usually it just comes instantly for me. Here you can see my order receipts of all of my top-ups that I have done. So guys, be sure to check out Loot Bar through the link in my description, as it can be a great way for you to save your money, especially if you are topping up a large amount. So first off, obviously there's not going to be a dedicated build toward Mualani, because I believe there's a lot of out there already, but there are going to be some important note whenever you use Mualani. Is that I think one of the most important thing right now is that Mualani is basically a nuke kind of character, where, you know, she focuses every bit of her damage into one huge shark bite attack from, you know, after you casting her E skill, and as well as her bursts also do big number of damage as well. Now generally she's going to be doing the most damage whenever you're in single target situation, because due to her talent in group situation, you know, the more enemies there is, whenever you have more than 3 enemies, her damage does decline up to a 28%. Now it's an okay thing, and I can understand that, because with more enemies on field, she's going to be able to do her in-hand shark bite a lot faster than, you know, if there's only a single enemy. Plus her shark bite does fire off some missile to help you with, you know, AoE damage as well. So even though she's best in single target, she's still pretty good in AoE situation. And so whenever we look at into kind of like nuke character and you're focusing on increasing their damage, the best elemental reaction to be using Mualani is obviously going to be Vaporize, which while it's obviously going to be a subject where we'll talk a lot more whenever it comes to team build section, but it does limit a lot of her options when it comes into team building if you're focusing solely on wanting to see a big number on your Mualani. Artifacts build for her is definitely going to be our new set, where it has the ability to increase her crit rate by a ton. Other than that, the Hunter set is also one of her better options out there if you're using her in Furina teams, and only if you're using her in Furina team, because at this point in time we don't have any other character that saps out your whole team HP like Furina does, so Mualani is not going to be able to have max stack if you're using her in any other team. Other options, you know, can be Heart of Death or, you know, Gilded Dream. Obviously it's not going to be the best for her, because, you know, she doesn't scale with attack percentage. So generally speaking, you're just going to be, you know, focusing on farming the new artifact set for Mualani here and there, because it is the best set for her. Now in terms of, you know, specific stat, you can go with either HP or EM. Usually HP is still going to be the best. Hydro Goblet, and then crit damage on your circlet. Now Mualani weapon is rather interesting. Her signature is obviously going to be the best for her, and is, you know, by far the best for her as well. However, she does have an absolutely amazing free-to-play options. It's been a while since we have a 5-star character to have access to such good free-to-play options, and Mualani is definitely one of them, because the Yash, every one of us should already have 1 copies of this catalyst, because it's basically given out for free, even though it's pretty much lower than her signature. But if you're looking into a free-to-play options, I guess this is basically the best option out there for you. Now when it comes to other, you know, 5-star or 4-star options, I think, you know, the Donut or Everlasting Moon Glow is a pretty good options if you have it on your accounts and you don't use it on anybody. So I think it's been a while since we have access to a character that may be able to make use of the Donut this while, because obviously it gives you HP percentage, and it also increased your normal attack based on your your HP, which is pretty good. And on top of that, it regens your burst energy as well, which is overall, I think it is a pretty good option. Obviously not going to be as good as her signature because the crit damage on her signature is just so damn high, but overall a very good alternative if, for example, like on my account, I have access to it. Then yeah, the Jade Full Splendor I think falls in almost the same category, but overall I think these two weapons are just very rare that I don't think it's worth recommending at this point. Other than that, you know, the Floating Dreams, the Nahida weapons, it can provide her a decent amount of EM considering that she is going to be used in Vaporized team. It is rather good. The Eternal Flow is a pretty other good options as well. However, she's obviously not going to be able to make use maximum of the passive, and most of the time we're using this weapon on Novelet. Other 4-star options, I think mostly it's just going to be the Wizard. If you have it, I think pretty good consideration. It gives you a lot of crit damage, and overall apart from the attack percentage, EM and elemental damage bonus is something that she can make use of. So overall, Mualani herself in terms of gameplay, I think it's pretty straightforward. You just basically set up her team and then switch to her to use her elemental burst, and then using her E-skill state to do her, you know, nuke damage. It's not very too hard, which is where we're going to be talking into the most exciting part of this video, and that's going to be the team building. So as I mentioned, Mualani is a character that mostly is going to be used in a Vaporized team, and then on her team she definitely wants a pyro character that have a lot of pyro applications, and at this point in time we have none other than Xiangling, and it's always going to be Xiangling unless there's, you know, whole universe is going to be making another very cracked character. Hopefully that's going to be the Pyro Archon, but trying to take Xiangling place at this point is actually going to be very hard considering that she is a 4-star character. You've got so many copies of her, and then, you know, C6 Xiangling is just, you know, very good. So the first team that I want to mention is one of the best teams that she has access to right now, I feel, especially if you have your account decently invested with the 5-star character, and that's going to be Mualani, Xiangling, Furina, and Jin. Now I do say that it's invested, but I think at this point it's only going to be Furina, and I feel that many of us actually has Furina. So obviously Furina is a very good character to be on Mualani team, not just from her sub DPS power, her, you know, support capability in terms of increasing your whole team damage, but also from the fact that she is a Hydro character to help, you know, Hydro Resonance gain you an extra 25% HP increase. Now Jin is also an interesting consideration here because she has team-wide healing so that you can manage Furina HP sapping a lot easier, and then of course there's going to be 4-piece VV shred on, you know, Jin because she is an Anemo character. Other than that, if you do have a C2 Jin, she does help Mualani a little bit in terms of having her movement speed increase as well as attack speed increase. Now movement speed increase is pretty nice on Mualani because she's a character that moves around the battlefield a lot. I don't think we have a character that actually moves around the battlefield this much such as Mualani, and yeah, I don't think the attack speed increase actually matters too much because it's just, you know, you waiting for 3 of her Shark Bite stack and then using her enhanced Shark Bite. Therefore you don't really need Jin constellation, just have a Jin slot on this team and it's going to be doing very well. And next interesting team consideration I have is pretty much a nuke Mualani team, especially if you're going up against a single target boss situation. This team is going to do very well, and that's going to be, you know, a Mualani Xiangling team with Kazuya and Mona. Overall a pretty good team. You just have to make sure that you won't get killed because you don't have anyone to heal yourself. However, you know, the main goal of this team is definitely just going to be you nuking your enemies as fast as you can so that you don't really have to care too much about healing. Obviously that's going to be a bit hard when it comes to a C0 Mualani. Overall a pretty fun team, but obviously trying to keep Mona burst up consistently is going to be a bit of a challenge sometimes. So that's going to be one of the things that you have to deal with whenever you're in this team. Another interesting team that I want to mention is regarding Mualani, Dia, Emily, and Nahida. So this team is, as I mentioned, a pretty fun team that you can try out if you have Emily, though I don't think many of us do have Emily, but if you do and you have a spare Dia on your account and you're not using it, I think this team can be a worthwhile considerations that you can make use of because Xiangling is a very important character, and I do feel that many of the time you just have Xiangling on another team. So Dia here can help, especially when you have Emily and Nahida to keep up the burning reactions to help Mualani with a Vaporize. And yeah, Emily can still be slot onto this team to do off-field damage. The burning reactions may not be as consistent, but it is still there. So I do feel that it's totally fine. And then Nahida obviously going to be there to buff the team EM ability as well as, you know, also doing off-field damage, which can be very nice. Now other than that, if you don't want to use Dia and you want to have Xiangling on this team in place of Dia, then if you have a Baiju on your account, then you can swap Baiju in Nahida's place, and I think that can still work. So yeah, that's definitely going to go down into your considerations. Another team is just going to be earth-changing thing a bit, and that's going to be a Hyper Bloom team with Kuki, Furina, and Nahida. This is an interesting team. Obviously, I kind of want to have a look into Mualani team that doesn't use Vaporize. Now, overall, the whole point of most of the Vaporize team is obviously going to have your Mualani specifically doing, big number and you enjoy it, right? However, she slotting into a Hyper Bloom team can work rather well, especially if you already have your Furina and Nahida decently invested. That can be a pretty nice thing to have. Then Mualani to be next to Furina to help with Hydro application, because we already know how bad Furina Hydro application is, and since Mualani does move around the field a lot, she can make use of Kuki Shinobu Ring to help Kuki trigger Hyper Bloom. And overall, I think this is a pretty nice team. I've tested this team out, it does pretty good results. So if you're tired of playing Vaporize Mualani, you can actually consider this team. Now the next team is something that I don't think exists yet, but whenever patch 5.1 come, my prediction is that this is going to be literally the best Mualani team in the game, and that's going to be featuring Mualani, Xiangling, Furina, and I'm putting a Kashina here right now. However, that place is going to be for Zilenan. We obviously don't have a lot of information on Zilenan yet, but most likely she's going to be a very good character, and I heard that she might have access to healing as well, on top of all the support capability that Zilenan has in the game. And furthermore, Zilenan is going to be a Natlin character so that she can make use of the new support set that actually give Mualani a 40% elemental damage bonus, which is going to be very, very nice. Now you can actually do similar thing with Kachina, but Kachina, yeah, she doesn't have access to healing. So if you want to use Kachina, you have to swap Furina for, for example, like a healer, probably like Kokomi if you want Hydro Resonance. Other than that, it has to be, like a Jean. So obviously Kachina is not going to be the best, which is why I am predicting that whenever Zilenan comes, this team is going to be an absolutely amazing team for Mualani, and hopefully that's going to be the case, because yeah, Mualani would love to have another Natlin character on her team, as well as Night Soul burst triggering so that she has more stack on her burst to deal more damage. And so guys, I think that's going to be all the teams I have for recommendation for Mualani at this point in time. Hopefully some of the team I have recommended is pretty fun for you guys to try out. If you do have any other team, leave it down in the comment section, as I would love to discuss more team with you guys there. Again guys, if you're pulling for Mualani and you're planning to swap, don't forget to check out loot bars. I'm sure it's going to be very helpful to you. I really appreciate you guys staying with me till this part of the video guys, and with that I wish you a super day, and I will catch you on my next video.